I knew I needed someone with more expertise than me to talk about exactly what happened, not only yesterday with Scott Perry's phone, but with Mar-a-Lago. And to help with that is one of the big brains, one of the good guys over at Judicial Watch, Chris Farrell. He's the Director of Investigations and Research at Judicial Watch. Welcome to the show, sir.
Great to be with you. Thanks very much.
So can we talk about just the legality? Just break it down. I know you've been on this, and the team obviously over there is working on this nonstop. This is probably one of the biggest, most disgusting things that has happened in American history, as far as the law goes. And Judicial Watch, I really love, by the way, that Judicial Watch's slogan is "No one is above the law." You guys actually sued for the right to paint that on the streets of Washington, D.C., especially after D.C. had said, they had painted Black Lives Matter and defund the police, and you sued to put no one is above the law. Now the left has taken that line as if they care about the police suddenly, right? I mean, that's got to be kind of an extra slap in the face in all of this to Judicial Watch, right?
Yeah, it's revolting. It's a disgusting joke on the American public. But we went into court yesterday in the Southern District of Florida and filed a motion to unseal the underlying affidavit for the warrant to do the raid on Trump's property, Mar-a-Lago. So instead of just, wringing our hands and saying, oh, goodness, how could this happen? We went to get to the actual sworn declaration by the special agent that formed the foundation for why they supposedly had to conduct this raid. We're tired of the FBI and the Department of Justice hiding behind their phony excuses about, oh, we're in the middle of an investigation. We can't discuss this. Oh, yes, you can. In fact, you owe it to the American public when you conduct a raid on the home of a former president and likely candidate to oppose the current sitting president. So this has huge, huge political implications, and the American public should be tired of just kind of sitting around and complaining about it. And so that's why we stepped up, went into court, and we're but we filed a motion to have the record unsealed.
I'm going to add to my frustration and to Americans' frustrations, because not only did Judicial Watch, not only are you guys first movers to do this, but you were actually who uncovered Hillary Clinton's private email server years ago. Because I think
that
ultimately... Go ahead.
It's all tied back to Benghazi, believe it or not. We had filed a bunch of open records requests to get at the truth behind Benghazi. There was a huge amount of information produced to us, but there was somebody who was conspicuously absent, and that was Hillary Clinton. Nowhere was there an email from her about what was going on in Benghazi. And the State Department finally sheepishly admitted that they had found what they called another universe of documents, and that universe was her outlaw email server that she sent classified information across repeatedly, and that, frankly, any other American would have been jailed for.
Yeah, was there an unannounced FBI raid on her house ever?
There was not. You had James Comey getting up in front of the country and lying for 15 minutes straight, and then giving her an excuse or a pass. Look, let me talk to you about these records at Mar-a-Lago. They're covered under something called the Presidential Records Act. I have direct firsthand knowledge and experience dealing with Presidential Records Act documents. I've done it at the Clinton Library in Little Rock, Arkansas. Judicial Watch sued to get Clinton records that he was trying to keep private, and the judge, we lost the case. The judge threw out our case because the judge said, hey, look, when it comes to presidential records, the president gets to decide what's a record and what isn't, what gets held back, what gets sealed, what gets put away until he dies and then is released, and so that we had no standing to go after it. So if that's the standard for the Clintons, if Bill Clinton gets to decide what a presidential record is or isn't, one would think that that same right would transfer to President Trump, but not in this case. And so when there's a contentious issue over this sort of administrative process, and that's what it is, presidents have been fighting over presidential records since 1939, when FDR gave his papers to the government. Every president has gone back and forth with the archives over what he wants to keep, what he wants to give, and it's handled in a paperwork drill. It's lawyers sending nasty letters to each other. That's it. That's as far as it ever goes. And so this raid on Mar-a-Lago is off the charts in insane corruption and criminality. Nothing has been handled like this ever.
Yeah. I want to go 50,000 feet on you right now before we continue with this, and I'm so glad that I have you on here because I think you and Tom Fitton are the two best people to talk about this issue across the board for one very, very simple reason. And I'm going to ask you. I'm going to phrase it in the form of a question, Chris. Why do you guys always end up doing the job that our elected Republicans should be doing?
Well, because there's gutless leadership. I mean, over and over and over again. What really boils down to a leadership failure is what has really screwed the American public. And it happens over and over again. And that leadership failure is the reason why you see this kind of abuse and this kind of reckless conduct by, the outlaw thugs at FBI headquarters, because they know there's no accountability, and they know that there isn't you can't find a Republican quote-unquote leader with a spine. So they never get away with it. That's why.